Everybody, good afternoon. Oh, good afternoon, everybody. As many of you all know, I'm Chrissy Houlihan, and I'm here down in Washington, D.C., and very, very proud to serve as your representative for Pennsylvania's 6th Congressional District. Throughout my career, I've really tried to be as committed as possible, deeply committed, in fact, to improving the lives of our community members through education, through economic development, and through support for our veterans and families, just to name a few areas. So it's really my honor to work alongside people who are dedicated and individuals who are dedicated and organizations as well who bring valuable resources and opportunities to this district. So today, it's my pleasure to welcome you to this very important webinar that is going to be focused on the extensive range of financing programs that are offered by USDA Rural Development. These programs play a really important and vital role in fostering economic growth, enhancing infrastructure, and improving the quality of our lives and our communities across our state. And today, we have the privilege of hearing from an esteemed expert in this field, Mr. Bob Morgan, who's the State Director for USDA Rural Development. Bob's leadership and deep understanding of these kinds of programs have been extremely instrumental in helping countless communities like ours access the resources that they need to thrive. So as we delve into the comprehensive support that's available through USDA's more than 70 loan, grant, and loan guarantee programs, I would encourage you to think about how these opportunities might be able to benefit our community, your community, whether it's expanding high-speed internet access or supporting businesses' growth, or improving healthcare and education, or providing affordable housing solutions. I hope that you'll see that there's something here for everyone. In addition to these programs, it's really important to recognize the broader context of federal initiatives that are aimed at boosting our economy and at supporting a sustainable development rate. This is where I really want to foot stomp, to use a military phrase. The Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, not necessarily well named because it doesn't necessarily tell you everything that's in it, but this is an example of federal legislation that is a critical piece of legislation that is aimed exactly at lowering costs for families, combating climate change, and promoting economic stability. And we have already seen the benefits that have derived from it and will continue to see many more in the future. So keep your ears and eyes out for references to the Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA. So thank you very much for joining us today, and a special thank you and again a warm welcome to Bob Morgan and to your team for leading this insightful session. We look forward to learning so much more about how USDA Rural Development, alongside other federal efforts, can help us to build stronger, more prosperous communities. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Bob.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Morgan. I'm State Director of USDA Rural Development, and we want to thank Congressman Houlihan for the opportunity to share with you some of the programs that we offer here at USDA Rural Development. Actually, we were in your district, I believe, yesterday in West Grove at a Habitat for Humanity site. So we were celebrating Home Ownership Month. We've been part of that small community that's been built by Habitat for Humanity over several years. And actually, we had the opportunity in the last 2 days, they closed on 5 new units in that development. And so it's really a wonderful time to be there because people are excited. They're moving in. They've just settled on their house. And so it's a great, in fact, actually, Daniel was kind enough to put up a picture from yesterday. So and the person in the middle, in the front, is actually our Undersecretary of Rural Development, who actually came to the area to celebrate with us that day. So it was a wonderful opportunity to celebrate in Chester County. And so this is just one aspect of some of the programs that we offer under our programs here at USDA Rural Development. So Daniel, if you, well, we are part of the Department of Agriculture, which is the largest civilian agency in the federal government. And you will know some of our other divisions as well. You know, among them, the U.S. Forest Service. We are good friends of Smokey the Bear. And one thing that we are often confused with is I will sometimes get called by restaurant owners or grocery store owners and asking about the person that inspects their meats and that sort of thing. That's not actually not the division that we're in, but we're a large agency within the federal government. So our mission is essentially to be the economic development arm of the Department of Agriculture. So if you think of it this way, we have well above 50 loan guarantee and grant programs and technical assistance programs to help your communities support economic development. And one example, as we said, was we actually did the financing for the building of those townhouses at the Habitat for Humanity site. We are financing the construction of the charter school, Avon Grove Charter School, which is actually the largest construction project, charter school construction project in USDA history. It's $84 million. And we've also done a number of other projects recently. One was a hospital, which I think we're probably going to see in our presentation, but a hospital along the northeast extension of the Turnpike that was $120 million. And these are all, for the most part, loans that are repaid to the government. So it's not, it's not something where we're giving away money that's never going to come back to the government. It's actually a loan arrangement with the federal government being the lender, usually on pretty favorable terms. Usually the interest rates are lower than market. And so it makes for an opportunity for communities to take, a step forward and help develop their communities. The other thing that makes our lending arrangement attractive is that we have very long amortization schedules. Your mortgage is probably 15 or 30 years. A mortgage for a commercial property like the hospital is almost 40 years with us. And so it allows you to lower the payment, lower the risk of carrying that debt, and then eventually being able to pay off the building, which has been a large boost to your community. So, Daniel, thank you. We actually have the largest footprint next to the post office around the country. We have one national office. We have 47 state offices. Ours is in Harrisburg, and 400 area offices throughout the country. Daniel? And we have several offices in Pennsylvania. Obviously, there's the Harrisburg office. There's an office in Butler. There's an office in the Clinton area, Crawford area, Cumberland area, Lebanon area, Lehigh area, actually, now in Bethlehem, relocated from Allentown, Lycoming area, Toursville, Westmoreland area, and the Wyoming area office, which is in Tunkhannock. So in all likelihood, our closest office to you would probably be the Lebanon area office, but our folks operate from outside of those facilities. They visit building sites and meet with communities to work through the application process and the planning process for all the projects. One of the questions that comes to mind is, what is a rural area? And the reality is, the most kind of broad definition is that any area with a population under 50,000. So that allows for a pretty broad expanse of the communities in Pennsylvania. However, what happens is each one of the programs has a certain population maximum. So we're going to talk about some of those programs, but as an example, our water and environmental program, which is designed to help communities put in water systems or water treatment facilities, that operates in communities that are 10,000 and smaller. our community facilities program, where we talked about building that hospital or building the charter school. Its eligibility is restricted to communities 20,000 and below. And our housing program, which we'll talk about in more detail, communities of 30,000 or less. And finally, we have business programs which are eligible up to a community of 50,000. Rural development programs, you're going to see there's a tremendous assortment. We operate in business and industry, so in that case, we are a guarantor of a loan. We are not the originator. We operate in single family housing, which is in Pennsylvania our single largest investment. We also do water and environmental programs, community facilities, those buildings that are used by a community, such as a school or a hospital or a borough building or a firehouse. We also offer multifamily housing, small communities that usually are they're apartments of probably 1 or 2 floors. They fit in with the landscape. They're a way to provide for apartment living within rural communities, because not everybody, can be in a house, and they may be downsizing. But that's an opportunity that's available to them. We also do work with electric cooperatives. Some of you out in Pennsylvania may be serviced by an electric cooperative. Our other area that we operate in is telecommunications. That's how rural development essentially got started. We were the people who electrified and offered phone service through rural areas about 100 years ago, because it was in many of those areas, it was not profitable for electric companies or telephone companies to run lines because of the distance between our homes and in rural areas. And so we were able to provide that last mile service and get people connected. I always think back on the example of, for the longest time, if you lived on a farm, even into the 1920s, you may very well have gone to bed, when the sun went down, and you were somewhat disconnected from the rest of the world because your news came from your neighbors or came from a paper that may be published once a week or twice, once every 2 weeks, or maybe even monthly. And so by bringing electricity, it also gave you the opportunity to bring radio into the house. And so it helped us provide for a more common understanding of the day's events. So it's pretty powerful impact. Here is an example of some of the business programs we've visited over the years. These are in the lower corner. There is an organization called Drive, which is a development authority in the Danville area, and but we've supplied funding for auto parts stores, for a printing business in the middle. We also, in the lower corner, provided specialty funding to a powdered metal business, excuse me, in north central Pennsylvania. So that's where they literally take steel, break it down, and essentially forge it into a more powerful metal, oftentimes used in auto parts. And so a lot of the items on your car may actually be manufactured in the St. Mary's area of Pennsylvania, through that process of breaking the steel down and making it even stronger by reforging. The way the business programs operate is there will be a lender present in that case. There will be a traditional bank or credit union involved, and we supply a guarantee for the funding. So up to 80%. and of the funding is guaranteed by the federal government. So that way, the bank, if something should happen to the business, the bank does not lose that investment. They get at least 80% recovery on that. And what it also helps to do is it lowers the cost of doing business with the bank because, in current times, they might have a 7.5% interest rate. The presence of that guarantee might bring that interest rate down pretty dramatically. But we've also, among those projects, we have actually done business and industry guarantee loan guarantees on a number of hotels near highways in Pennsylvania. And it also allows the opportunity to provide for funding for a transfer of the business and allows it to borrow to keep it from closing or to save or create jobs. We have a number of energy programs, and there's a list of some of them, but the one in the middle I'd really like to talk about, and that's the Rural Energy for America program. That, as Congressman Houlihan mentioned, she mentioned the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, and it is through the funding that approved by Congress that has allowed us to expand our partnership in the Rural Energy for America program, which allows people to install energy efficient lighting, upgrading refrigeration systems, improving insulation, ductwork, windows, and other building upgrades, lowering their heating and cooling costs with heating, ventilation, and air conditioning upgrades, to install solar panels or wind turbines, or to purchase anaerobic digesters. So this program is open to businesses in the rural communities. It is also open to farmers. And so here's an example of somebody who just recently received an award in southern Pennsylvania. And most of these awards actually turn out to be solar awards because they're easy to install. But as you can see in the background, it's a little hard to see on the roof, but actually that roof of that barn is actually covered with solar panels, which is allowing that farmer to generate enough electricity to replace the electrical service to their home. And so, when you're on a farm, you can only control certain things in order to increase your bottom line. One of them is you can spend less or you can make more. This is one way of helping you spend less because what it does is it allows for a 50% grant to determine whether this is a project that will be helpful to your home, your farm, or your business, and it allows for us to partner with you to pay for half of the installation of the solar panels that are going to be working on that farm. So it's a very interesting program. It is actually something that Pennsylvania has been since the IRA about normally number 2 or number 3 in the country with the number of projects that we have financed. We have financed small ones. We have financed large ones. We had a large working farm in Lebanon County, which they actually installed solar panels on the chicken houses, and that generated half the energy for the property because actually they had recently expanded and had a large herd of cattle so that they had 2 businesses operating on the farm. And so we suggested that maybe they look into the idea of buying a digester. A digester takes the manure and essentially takes the power from digesting the manure and sends that back into the grid. So it's, there are many unique ways. There are also opportunities for wind-based systems, and it's a fantastic way to help control the cost of doing business. As we said before, we do single family housing, and it's not only like a project like Habitat for Humanity, because in that case, we are financing a number of homes that are, in this particular case, built together like townhouses. But in this case, it's an opportunity to, if you qualify, there is no down payment. The closing costs and repairs may be included if you're doing some upgrades to the property. There's no prepayment penalty. So the mortgages are roughly about 35 years. If you have an opportunity to throw a little extra cash on there, we're not gonna charge you anything for that. But it allows for 100% financing of affordable fixed rate mortgages, and that's a couple that lives in Mahoopany, which is just outside of Tunkhannock. They live on Route 6, and they were very happy because they were living in housing that was not physically healthy. They did not think that they would be able to afford a home until they found our program. And as you can see, they're decorated on the porch there. Their three boys have their own rooms, and the husband and wife decorate the place for every holiday because they're just so happy where they are. And we have done about $2.5 billion in investments in the last 3 years in Pennsylvania from USDA rural development. $1.3 billion has been in single family home mortgages. So almost half of the dollars keep people having an opportunity to buy homes in rural Pennsylvania and to really make dreams come true. The reality is that home ownership creates some of the greatest wealth opportunity within families. We also have a single family home repair loan and grant program. It's eligible for persons with disabilities and people 62 and older. And it'll allow people to proceed through the process. They can apply, they see if they qualify for a grant or for a loan. They can do energy saving upgrades, they can do roofs, and they can do septic tanks. We think of, we'd all like to think that we've been able to prepare for all that stuff before retirement, but the reality is that, depending on how long retirement is, one cannot predict how long things will last. And, it's difficult on a fixed income to be able to afford a major project. I mean, as an example, I just had to replace a furnace, and by the way, I noticed it. Financially, you notice those big projects, and I can only imagine how much more difficult it would be if I were retired. And so, this is a way for people to do those repairs in an affordable manner. So, Daniel. Grants up to $10,000 for health and safety repairs. So health and safety repairs are essentially, required. So the roof is leaking. We want to seal the roof. You may have a dangerous situation with stairs or something of that nature, or we need to help you build a ramp. All those things should be able to qualify for seniors age 62 and who cannot afford a loan. Otherwise, if you're in a little better financial position, we're gonna be able to offer you a loan that that you can repay over time, and the repayments are very small. So it allows you to do those major projects around your home to make it safer, make it better, with the idea of hoping you can age in place and not have to move because of those things and not have to find an alternative living site. So you can be comfortable in the home that you've had for your entire adult life. We talked about our community facilities grant, I'm sorry, grant and loan programs. These are an example of one of the grant projects that was offered under congressionally designated spending. That is the Berwick area YMCA, and they added the YMCA is the original Berwick High School that had closed and had been repurposed. But obviously, they built high schools smaller in those days, and they wanted to expand and put in a new gymnasium. And in this case, Congressman Muser from Pennsylvania's 9th District sponsored a congressionally designated spending a grant in the amount of $1 million for a sizable project. This is an example where we can be a part of a capital stack. So that's where, more than one person is participating. Excuse me. So in this case, the YMCA was responsible for about 60% of the fundraising of the balance, and through USDA and through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the other 40% was available under the community, in our case, the community facilities program, and in the case of the state, RACP. So here's another example that this was a groundbreaking and then eventually ribbon cutting at the Bear Creek Community Charter School in northeastern Pennsylvania. The other example on the right-hand side in front of the car is an example of an emergency rural healthcare grant that was awarded to a hospital because the hospital supplies paramedic services to a number of communities in central Pennsylvania. And so that vehicle behind us was paid for by USDA as in the form of a grant, and was outfitted with special equipment that allows a team of paramedics to meet the ambulance, which is a basic life support vehicle, and allow this group to be the advanced life support, and allow them to do the more intense treatment, and then they would accompany them to the hospital. So it really is amazing, because many of the rural communities don't have the capacity to either train or afford the equipment. So this is a kind of a situation where we supply the answer to a number of communities for providing more advanced services to their residents. And here's the beautiful St. Luke's Hospital in Lehighton, just off the Turnpike entrance. This is the $120 million project. This is an 80-bed unit that is the first construction in 65 years in this county, Carbon County. And so what has happened is the first floor is operating rooms and diagnostic centers, and it is literally cutting edge, a large emergency room facility. And as a result, one of the benefits of this project is the Carbon County area has had some of their long-standing and long-serving physicians begin to retire. And this facility has helped become a recruitment tool for physicians from outside the area who are making a decision to move into Carbon County because of the level of service that can be delivered within that community. So there's not the idea that you can only you stabilize and move the patient to a larger community. They're providing the right kind of service and the high level of service in that community, and so it avoids the need for a large number of transfers. So it's a perfect situation. This is a Schwenksville fire company. We were able to take that building that you see and help upgrade it. We're able to do that. See, a very modern facility, and That's where a situation where the community took advantage of financing for that and upgraded the facility, and we'll repay it over the course of probably 35 years. So it's not a huge burden on the community. Here's an example. We can also fund police vehicles. That's in the town of Blossburg. And that was, I think, 2022 that we actually funded that vehicle. Our electric programs, we have, excuse me, we have 7 electric cooperatives throughout Pennsylvania. And so we provide funding for the maintenance of those lines and to allow for the distribution, transmission, and generation facilities in rural areas. That is a program that we support annually, and so the electric cooperatives apply to us for funding, and we help them maintain the lines so that their customers are receiving the service that they desire and need. We have a telecommunications program, which most specifically in this case is related to distance learning and the opportunity to provide medical care by telemedicine. So the opportunity to for a doctor to see and consult with a patient who is not located in the same town. And oftentimes that delivery is the physician is in one location, the patient is in their home, and a nurse is there helping assist with the examination. And it's a way to provide service to avoid the need for patients to travel great distances to receive, especially certainly specialized services. Another item is the Reconnect program and Community Connect, which is funding allowing for the deploying of broadband in rural areas. Surprisingly, in the Southeast, you may not have as much of a problem with it, but certainly in the areas where it becomes more mountainous, that is oftentimes a hindrance in providing broadband services. And so there are communities in Pennsylvania that still have no or very limited cell service and internet service. As we learned through the pandemic, sometimes we had to go down to the local McDonald's and sign on to their broadband in order to do, our children's or grandchildren's homework. And so this is part of the program that's helping expand that. There's also funding through the Commerce Department that is being deployed through the states. And so there is also a Pennsylvania Broadband Commission that is working on upgrading and providing service for communities in Pennsylvania as well. We're working together and hopefully supplementing and making that a stronger effort. As we said, we talked about telemedicine, distance learning. What happens is it allows the opportunities, as we said, deliver service to patients in their home or in a doctor's office that might where they might be consulting with not only their family doctor but with a specialist. It also offers opportunities for learning to be hosted from larger, more urban communities and delivered to schools and training services in rural parts of Pennsylvania. So, as an example, Geisinger is a grant award winner in the distance learning program, and they provide learning services throughout the Commonwealth. We've also had telemedicine services from a number of hospitals in northwest and north central Pennsylvania. that have used this to implement a much more broad-based healthcare and robust healthcare for seniors. So avoiding the trip to the doctor until it's, necessary, or once every 3 times, as opposed to, every few weeks. So it's a great opportunity. We talked about water and environmental programs, and this is the area that is the most fun as far as I'm concerned, because what you see there is an older system that we had installed probably about 40 years ago, very intense, very, very capitally intense. So there's a lot of money that goes into all that concrete and that sort of thing. You would be surprised that many of those things can be replaced by a project that is about, 40% the size. And so we do water and environmental programs. We provide loans, grants, and loan grant guarantees for drinking water, sanitary sewer, solid waste, and storm drainage facilities in rural areas. We've done a project in Perry County. We've also done a number of projects on the Delaware River and the Susquehanna watershed. We also have done a number of projects out in Western Pennsylvania. We also have arrangements with water services to provide technical assistance to the operators and as they are implementing their new systems. So, Daniel. Yeah, here's an example of some of those places. You'll see me looking down into a pump station, and that is where gravity is not your friend in some cases, and so water only flows one direction, and that's down. And so what happens is, in order to have a fully working and fully engaged system, one has to take the water and pump it up, and get it back to where it can run downhill again. And so we're probably looking into a pit that's about 30 feet below the ground there. The picture below is a wastewater treatment plant out in Western Pennsylvania. That gentleman, I don't remember his name right off the top of my head, but he is an engineer, and he is a guy who has found his passion. He loves providing the service. He's helped build that system. He's fought with gravity in the case of the pump stations, and he's a very, very committed guy to providing the next opportunity for his community. And it really is important, because in those cases, what happens is it is an assist in raising the property values of some of those residences, because they have now a municipal service as opposed to being fully responsible for their own septic system. And if something should go wrong, that's on their dime and not a shared service. And so it's very, very valuable for communities. So our contact information, you can contact my associate, Daniel Blottenberger, at that number, 717-237-2153. Daniel is actually our public information officer. He is a great assist, and he is a great connector of resources. If we don't do it, Daniel will probably figure out who can and get you headed off in the right direction. But he's certainly the person that you want to talk to when making your first inquiry, and he's going to help you be introduced to the people who do all the specialties that we talked about. I'm responsible for managing the organization, but I have no delusions that I do and know all the details of those projects that we looked at. I have the opportunity to have some fine people that work with me, and they truly are the experts in in the services that we deliver, and they are really committed. One thing about rural development is we would really like to help you get to yes. It's easy to say no. We really want to help you get to yes and find a way that your community can be made a better place, a more comfortable place to live, a more modern place to live, and provide you with some of the amenities that you've probably been, thinking you might not be able to afford or might not be able to accomplish. And some of these projects that we've shown you happen very quickly. Some of them take a significant amount of time because they're all sorts of things that need to be accounted for and planned for. But we really would like to work with your communities in whatever way we can. We do have some of our programs do have a grant element, but those grants are limited. And so oftentimes it is a loan arrangement, but it's like I said, usually a very favorable loan arrangement for the community. So now it's time for any questions you might have. I think we have some in the chat, so let's see.
Yeah, Bob, I tried to answer most of them. I'm
Oh,
just,
okay.
is there a way to, Donnell, I'm not sure if any of our housing specialists were able to jump on the meeting with us, but there was a couple of really specific housing questions in the beginning that I was hoping to provide answers for now. But if none of our housing team is on, then I can just reach out to the individual afterwards. Someone from Senator Fetterman's office. I don't want to attempt, I think it's a last name there. I'm not sure if they're all on mute as well. So
Okay.
if there's no one from our housing team, they can punch their contact information into the chat, or I can reach out to them afterwards if they put their email in the chat or something. But I provided the information for our single family housing programs there, as well as the eligibility requirements that are covered in our pre-qualification documents.
Question about the picture, as Daniel said, it's not Jim Thorpe. It looks very much like it. But I understand it's actually Park City, Utah.
I feel like every state in RD claims that photo, and I'm not sure anyone knows where it's
Yeah,
from.
no, I have to agree with the person that wrote. I think it looks very much like Jim Thorpe, but yeah, they tell me it's Park City, Utah. So
yeah, let me jump in and thank you, Bob, and for a very informative and certainly timely presentation. We appreciate you and the team joining. At this time, if you want to drop a question in the chat or the Q&A, so Daniel or Bob can see it, that'll be fine. I'm not sure if both of those questions were both housing questions. But Daniel, if you don't mind just reading them for the group, just in case they didn't see them, just so they can get a flavor of what's been asked. And again, give people a chance if they want to type something in, we can get those in the chat also.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. I can definitely do that. And the first question was, are there maximum income thresholds for the no down payment single family housing loan? And all the thresholds are determined by, I believe, county area and the median household income in that area. So the best way to verify if an address is eligible is to go to our database of eligibility and type in the exact address there. That can be done, or you can always reach out to us and we can help you look it up for you, as well as supply you with the application for the single family housing loan. So when in doubt, reach out. We will help you out. That's a slogan I just came up with yesterday. Thank you very much. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Man, I already forgot. I hope that answers your question, Sabrina. And definitely, if you have someone that's interested, as well as if you need general like email information for our housing team, I'd be happy to get that over to you. I'll even put it in the chat once I'm done relaying the questions here. But your second question was about the single family housing loan. Is there still an option to put down a small down payment? And David Foster from our business team, who's worked with RD for many years, is saying that there was not. Yes, you can put down a down payment if you so choose. And again, our housing folks can work with you directly on, or the constituent directly on their application and those types of questions. And I'll make sure to put in their contact information once I wrap up the questions here. And then Kathy also asked the question about ambulances and whether we had funding available for that. And we definitely do. We just didn't have a good picture to share with you on this slide deck, but we do ambulances and ambulance services like companies quite frequently. And it's always nice to do equipment because then we don't have to worry about going through an environmental regulations as far as the community facilities program goes. But we do fund through loans and sometimes grants to offset some of those costs through our community facilities program, as well as any other type of emergency service vehicles, police vehicles, fire trucks, you name it, they're all eligible as essential community facilities or community facilities equipment. And like I said, if you're have a project that might, or an area, town, municipality that might be interested in that program, feel free to reach out and I will put you in contact with the community facilities specialist for that area. And yeah, we're actually pretty happy to promote when we fund ambulance, or we're able to help fund ambulances and other emergency service equipment. So it's always a great thing to help provide the capital for those types of equipment. And I think that's all the questions I saw in the chat. Of course, any questions to follow up afterwards, please reach out. And Sabrina, I'm sorry about whenever there's a dash in the last name, it intimidates me, and I didn't want to read it on air here. So I appreciate it. And it's always good to hear from you, and I look forward to our next engagement in your area. But that's all the questions, Donnell.
Yep, and I did have one that was emailed to me. They couldn't attend. It's a council person from one of the smaller townships here in Chester County. They're looking to go from a private sewer to public, and I think there was a slide or two that you mentioned about that, Bob. So they were interested in how can they move forward in talking to someone about that, because there are several homeowners that cannot sell their property because of possible water contamination issues.
Okay, we'd be more than happy to introduce them to the folks who handle our water environmental programs in that area, and they can work through a number of the questions. I would say this, just generally, they probably have to form an authority to be able to, move it to the public sector, and then the authority would be the person, if you will, that's applying for the financing.
Okay, good to know. Anybody else with any questions? No. Someone said, please repeat. So you just need clarification on assuming you need clarification on the water program? Oh, the contact info.
Contact info. Okay, it's you can reach Daniel at 717-237. Daniel, remind me the last 4 digits. There we go.
Put up the slide for you, but email is always the best because I'm on the road a lot, so I can definitely always get back to you on email, and you never know if I'm going to be at my desk or not.
Sure. So yeah, it's Daniel Blottenberger at USDA.gov. He'll help direct you to the right people. For the individual loans, that would be our single family housing staff, and Daniel, is there a direct email they could write to that?
Yes, I'm just, am I on mute? Yeah,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'm just
No.
putting that in both of the chats now.
Okay, there you go.
As well as phone numbers. And yeah, we're happy to entertain any question. There's no bad question. There's no dumb question. And like Bob said, if we can't help you, we probably know a state agency or a local county agency that might be able to, or congressional agency, department office that might be able to help you out with,
Right.
whatever the question is. So,
Sure.
we'd be happy to help.
And we're recording this webinar, and we'll upload it in the next few days on houlihan.house.gov website. So we'll be able to go back through the slides and listen to the presentation.
Good. Good. Thank you.
All right. Well, in that case, Bob and your team, thank you. And the Hula team behind the scenes, appreciate your support also. And thank